although I am not an educator in the public school or parochial school settings, I am a firm believer that there are two sets of books that every child should have to read some point in their elementary or middle school education. And those two sets of books are the Chronicle of Narnia and the Harry Potter series. Both are filled with great analogies and point the reader into areas in their lives which they might not have thought about. They talk about things such as being loyal and love and commitment. I mean, yes, those who have read the Chronicles of Narnia knows that C.S. Lewis, well, that's full of religious symbolism. Harry Potter, well, maybe not so much, but it's full of great learning. I loved the Harry Potter books. In fact, I couldn't put them down, waiting for the next one to come out and the next one to come out to see what was going to be happening next. And I have to be truthful, I was a little annoyed when the movies came out, because the image that I had in my head of some of those characters was not the image that you saw on the big screen. So for instance, Hermione Granger, please tell me everyone here has at least some knowledge of Harry Potter? Okay. Hermione Granger, a classmate of Harry Potter and Ron Weasley, I always envisioned her with like this red hair that just went everywhere out of control, very much a busybody, telling everyone what they were supposed to be doing, but still a heart of gold. And the thing about Hermione is Hermione always did the right thing. She believed in rules. She believed in studying hard. She believed in not rocking the boat too much, unlike Harry Potter and Ron Weasley, who would break any rule in the book if it were there. Now, in the fourth book and the fourth movie, Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, there's a great scene where Hermione does something against the rules. I mean, like, really shocking against all the rules of what they're supposed to do. And Ron Weasley looks at her and says, "Who are you, and what did you do with Hermione?" Who are you, and what did you do with Hermione? Now, anybody in here who is a parent, in a relationship, has to do with anybody else on a regular basis, most likely you know the person quite well. But haven't you every once in a while, you know, maybe your kid or your spouse has done something and you look at them and like, who the heck are you and what have you done with that person, you know, yourself? Because it seems so out of character for the person. We expect people to be pretty much consistent with who they are as individuals. The biggest question humans have to answer really is, who are we? You know, Viktor Frankl tried to answer that in Man's Search for Meaning. You know, who are we? Even in the midst of tragedy, even in the midst when we're hurting, even in the midst when we feel like there's no hope, who are we? This morning, we once again hear about John the Baptist. But instead of Mark's gospel last week, we hear it from John's gospel this week. And although Mark's gospel is short, John likes to expand a bit. And you see people coming to John the Baptist, asking him, "Who are you? Who are you?" Now, let's set the stage about John. John was a Nazirite. A Nazirite was an individual set aside by God by the family to serve God. Like Samson. Remember Samson and Delilah? A Nazirite couldn't cut their hair. A Nazirite would drink no wine. And Nazirites were probably considered to be a little crazy. And, well, John the Baptist, anybody who looked at him probably thought he was a bit of a crazy man. But he was a rock star. People came from all over to hear his message. And John, his message was quite clear. It was repent, be baptized, not the baptism that we know, but be baptized by water for forgiveness of sins. And baptism was very common in that time of the world. Ritual cleansing. But he was also very in your face against the authorities. So when King Herod, took his brother's wife to be his consort, well, guess what? John talked about it. And the rest of the story is John's head ended up on a platter at a banquet because of that. John was not afraid to speak the truth, and prophets speak the truth, even when it's difficult. But people wanted to know who John was. They asked him if he was the Messiah, or if he was Elijah, or if he was a prophet. The fact of the matter is, he was the one to prepare the way. He was the first prophet for 400 years in Israel. He was there to remind people that they needed to get their hearts ready for the coming of the one who he could not even untie the sandal of. That's Jesus. He pointed everyone towards God, consistent from day one with who he was. As Christians, or those of us who confess Jesus as Lord, believe it or not, people look to you and they look to me and they want to know if we are consistent with living our lives in Christ. Is there one of you at work? Is there a different one of you at home? Is there somebody different when you go out with your friends? Or are you the same? For instance, let's just say Nancy right here. No. Nancy is one of the nicest women I know. That is the truth. Nancy will go out of her way to help anybody in need. She will be there at a drop of a bucket. All you have to do is pick up the phone and say, "Nancy, can you help?" And I'll be right there. She's been there for her family. She's been there for her friends. She's been there for her church family. And anybody who knows Nancy knows that her life is about caring and loving. Now, if I would be out some night And I would go and see Nancy at, oh, I don't know, Jake's bar. Not that there's anything wrong with being at a bar. Trust me, I've been at a bar.
No.
Too. But I see Nancy there, and what I notice about Nancy, though, is that it doesn't seem to be the Nancy that I know. She's sitting there, she's bad-mouthing people. You know, she gets in a bar fight with somebody. The next thing you know, the cops are there and pulling her to jail. You know, and my question would be, who are you, Nancy? Because it wouldn't be consistent with who I thought Nancy should be. You know, as Christians, there are only a few things that God really requires of us. And in today's letter of Paul to the church in Thessaloniki, we hear just a few of those things about what it really means to be a Christian, to be authentically true to who we are called to be. And let me just read a few of these to you. Rejoice always, even when life doesn't seem to be giving you a bunch of good stuff. Pray without ceasing. When you get up in the morning, thank God that you're alive. When you get home from driving on the southern states, thank God you're alive. When you have dinner at night, thank God you have food on your table. You know, pray without ceasing. Your life can be a prayer. Give thanks in all circumstances. Give thanks in all circumstances. You know, when you think your life is bad, there's still something you can give thanks for. You know, you probably still have a house to live in, or food to eat, or somebody to care for you. Do not quench the Spirit. Do not despise the word of the prophets. Hold fast to what is good and abstain from all evil. The reason why the world thinks that the church is filled with hypocrites is because the church is filled with hypocrites. Because we are all guilty of some of these things, of not doing those things. As we move into this end of this Advent season, ask yourself, am I being authentically true to God's call to me as a Christian? And if not, what things do I need to change in order to get back on track? All God wants you to do is to be you. God doesn't want Nancy to be Ellie. God doesn't want Ellie to be Beth. God surely doesn't want any of you to be me. One's enough. God wants you to be you, but living your life with God through Christ. Think about it this week. In this really hectic time, as you're probably going to leave here, maybe do some shopping, maybe do some wrapping, maybe getting those cards done that you haven't done yet. And the moment you start to get angry about something, or maybe you start bad-mouthing somebody, or maybe you're saying, oh, what a day, I wish it would just be over. ask yourself, is that the person who God wants you to be? And instead, rejoice always. Pray without ceasing. Give thanks in all things. And when people will look at you, they'll truly know who you are. A Christian, a child of God who loves. Amen.
Amen.